In terms of performance,
Hmm.
where's your favorite place to perform and why?
So our places I have performed.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a few, you know.
Alright, the first question. What is the capital city of Northern Ireland? Go for
Let's
it.
go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's podcast, I have a very special guest with me. His name is none other than Cian Downing, and he's a teacher. Not only a teacher though, he's also a musician. You'll get to learn more about him as we go along. Cian, welcome, man.
Good to see you, Joel. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming as well. Alright, so we're going to start. Who is Cian?
Big question. So my name's Cian Downing. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Stevenage in Hertfordshire, so north of London. And my main passion all the way through my life has been music, really. So ever since I was 6 years old and I got my first guitar for Christmas, I knew the thing I'd always been most interested in was playing guitar, singing,
Yeah.
and just performing, being on stage. So when I was younger, not only I was doing guitar lessons, and then I got taken to like a stage school, drama school on Saturday mornings, and I used to go to that, and I sort of did singing lessons through that. I used to absolutely love that. Did some acting as well.
Okay.
So I just knew all the way through my life, basically, I've always wanted to do like just be performing, be in front of people.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's always appealed to me. And then I was brought up in a house that had a lot of music in it, so my dad was really into sort of American soul, he's really into jazz, and my mum's really into things like The Who, The Beatles, kind of 1960s band. So I grew up in a house that was full of music all the time,
Yeah.
full of people who are very passionate about music, and so then it was just kind of natural that I'd start writing songs, really. It's just a kind of bit of a rite of passage, really. You hear all this incredible music from these British artists from the past 60, 70 years. Sort of only natural that once you picked up a guitar, you're playing and singing, and next thing you know, you're trying to write your own songs. Not very successfully at first, but so yeah, that's been a big part of my life. Being a musician, playing music, writing music has been a big thing for me. But I'm also from a family of teachers.
Okay.
So my grandma, who's from Northern Ireland, from a place called Omagh in County Tyrone, she was a French and Spanish teacher. My auntie's a Spanish teacher and a French teacher in a school in Stevenage. My uncle's deputy head of a school in Brixton.
Okay.
My granddad was also a teacher at like a college, like a further education college. And some of my family in Ireland as well are the teachers as well. So there's been a lot of that in my life. There's been a lot of people that are very passionate about educating, about kind of giving opportunities to people. So that's been something that's kind of run through all my family as well. And so that's a big part of me. And I've got some Irish family on my dad's side, so that's why I've got quite an Irish sounding name.
Yeah.
So my dad's family are from a place called Omagh in the north of Ireland, in a place called County Tyrone. And they're Irish Catholics, so they think that Northern Ireland should be part of Ireland. They don't think it should be part of Britain.
They don't think it should be separate.
Yeah, they don't believe in the separation between Northern Ireland and the Republic. If you ask them, they'd say we're Irish, even though technically they live in Great Britain.
Yeah.
But so that's become quite a big part of my kind of identity as well. Like I'm very much, I've been brought up in England. Like I'm an English person. I identify as a Londoner and as a British person, but I'm very, very interested in Irish culture and keeping that as a part of me. So I'm very interested in Irish music, in Irish culture. I go over to Dublin and some of the west of Ireland most years, most summers when I can. I'm quite interested in Irish sports as well. I don't know if you've heard of Gaelic football and hurling.
I've never heard of
They're these two sports that are massive in Ireland and nobody really watches anywhere else outside Ireland. Yeah. But they're incredible sports and they're brilliant to watch. So I try and watch as much of them as I can. It kind of keeps me in touch with that side of me. So yeah, that's kind of me really. How I've got to this stage in my life, you know.
Wonderful. I mean, you have answered maybe 3 questions in one there, but that's pretty good. So I can see that you're well-rounded, and it's making more sense to me as to why you are a teacher and also why you're involved in music. Now, tell us a little. What is it like growing up in the UK? What was life like for you, or what is life like for you now as well?
Growing up in the UK, it's a good place to grow up in. It's a good place to grow up. I had quite a nice childhood. I felt like my childhood felt quite secure, quite kind of contented, I'd say. I grew up in a council house in a town in Hertfordshire. My family didn't have money or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so my parents basically said to me when I was younger, they said, you've got a decision to make. He said, when you get a bit older and you're in school in maybe year 4, year 5, you're going to notice a lot of your classmates will be going on holidays. They might go on holiday to Greece, holiday to Portugal, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
They said to me, if you want to do guitar lessons and you want to learn how to sing and you want to learn all this music you want to do, you're not going to be able to do that.
So you had to choose.
So we had to make a choice in that sense, but we were very fortunate. I was very fortunate that my parents had the resources to be able to get me guitar lessons, to get me to do singing lessons and things like that. So it's a good place to grow up in. And where I grew up, because I didn't grow up in a big city, I actually see as a real benefit. So I spent both my parents are Londoners. My mum's from Edgware in northwest London. My dad's from Stevenage, but he spent all his life in South London, bits of West London. So I spent all my childhood going, I wish I lived in London.
Yeah.
When you live in Stevenage, you're a 20-minute train journey from Finsbury Park and King's Cross. So we spend a lot of time getting the train in and out of London, going to galleries, going to the theatre sometimes, even just going to parks, going for walks, going to like Hyde Park, Regent Park, places like that.
Okay.
So I didn't live in London, and I wished I did a lot of the time. But it's really interesting when I look at it now, and I go back to Stevenage, which isn't a particularly not a very nice town really. There's not masses going on there. But I look at Stevenage now, like this was a good place to grow up in. Like I had a little house that had a garden. I lived opposite a really big park that had a massive field with loads of football pitches on it. It's got a very strong community spirit. It's got there were good people living there, and it was a good place to live in terms of when I was younger. It had fairly decent schools there. It kind of had everything you needed while you were growing up. Once you become a young adult, something like that, you're like, there's not much going on. There's not much of a nightlife. There's no real scene here. There's no real job opportunities available here except kind of in retail or in offices or whatever. But growing up in the UK, growing up in a town like Stevenage was perfect for what it was.
So I hear you saying that. Was it because of work why you moved to London?
Kind of. So because of university actually. So obviously I'd spent my entire childhood going, I need to get out of Hertfordshire, I need to get out of Stevenage and whatnot. So then when it got to applying for university, which would have been in year 13, so when you're sort of 17, 18, your last year of school when you do A-levels. So I was, you get kind of bombarded with all these options, you know. So you could go to Tyrone, you could go to Manchester, you could go to Cardiff, you could go to Falmouth. Like you could, it's
endless.
When you're that age, it's like your mind can't really comprehend the amount of options you've got. But then there was this teacher, so I went to a different sixth form. I went to a different school for year 12 and 13 than I did for years 7 to 11. I went to a school in a town called Hitchin, which is a little bit wealthier, a little bit more aspirational, a bit more middle class, you might say. And so basically everyone in that school went to university. It's like there wasn't really the option. You know, like how we say to our kids in our school, you could do an apprenticeship, you could go and get this job, you've got these options. It was almost everybody went to university. So it was basically a given. They were like, right, which university are you going to go to? It wasn't, are you going to university? And there was this one teacher, I forget the guy's name now, he didn't even teach me. But I just remember chatting to him and a couple of other lads in my sixth form one day, and he said, where you choose to go to university can be dependent on so many things. And he said, it could be a city you want to move to, it could be because you like a course, it could be because of the football team you support and things you want to be close to. And I was like, And I heard that and I was like, so you're telling me I could go to university in London just because I want to be close to QPR, Queen's Park Rangers, my football team.
Yeah.
So you're telling me I can go to university just on the basis of that? I was like, well, I'm sold. So it was almost I needed someone to tell me that. And it was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, cool, I don't have to go to Durham, because everyone says Durham's amazing. I don't have to go to Edinburgh. I was like, actually, I just want to go and live in London so I can go to watch QPR every week, which is what deep down is what I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, great, I do want to go to university. I do want to experience this and get away from home. But I was like, actually, I want to go to London and I want to be able to go into Soho, I want to be able to go into Camden, I want to be able to go to Shepherd's Bush and watch QPR on a Saturday. So in 2018 I kind of looked at my options and realised that was actually where I wanted to be. Came to London September 2018, went to Queen Mary, University of London, studied history there. Which was a fantastic degree, I loved it. Especially for the first year and a half. Sadly in March 2020, things changed ever so slightly. So I was halfway through university studying history, having a lovely time. I was sharing a house with my mates in Bow in East London, having a lovely time, going to lectures, going out. You know what you're like at that age, you kind of do what you want. Basically doing what I wanted. I was working part-time, having a nice time. And then things started bubbling away in the news that COVID-19 is around, and then all of a sudden this kind of lovely little life you have as a 19-year-old, kind of going out, studying a little bit, and all of that changed, and most of my university friends just went home. So quite a few of them are from families outside of London, so some of them went home to Essex, some of them went home up north to Wales, and suddenly I was like basically on my own for a bit. So I went back to Stevenage for a little while, not for very long though, because I wanted to stay in London and wanted to work and keep the part-time job I had. So that was all quite a strange experience, but and then finished university and then started working in education, but I feel like you're going to get to that later. So I won't go into that now.
No, you're sounding very passionate. Well, you're very passionate about music. In high school, what career path were you thinking of? Was it always music?
Yeah, probably. I don't really think I had much of a sense of, I don't think I had any sense of how you get to that point. No, I think I was just very much, this is what I'm good at. This is what I like. This is kind of what I've been brought up with. So this is what I want to do. I think I always used to love English in school. Like English literature, I used to absolutely love it. And I used to love writing. I remember realising I was quite a good writer. Like I could express myself quite well in writing. So I remember thinking, so then I think when I got to kind of year 10, year 11, I was like, oh, maybe I could be like a journalist or something like that. Because my granddad, who passed away in 2014 on my mum's side, worked for the Guardian newspaper. In his career, he was a sub-editor, so he was like quite a senior journalist for the Guardian. So around the time he was ill and he was close to passing away, I became really interested in his career. And I was like, oh, journalism's really interesting. And then I sort of got into politics and got into the news a lot. Around about year 9, year 10 time, like 2014. And so then I was like, and then I became quite opinionated. And I was like, oh, maybe I could be a journalist or something like that. But that was always a bit unrealistic, really. I don't think I ever actually had the passion to like go into, kind of the shady world of journalism and newspapers and kind of, the sort of the nepotism, sort of family favours that are done in that industry. I don't think I didn't have the connections for it, and I don't think I actually had the drive for it. So I think I always knew that music was something I wanted to do, and something I wanted to do as a job. But I think I always kind of knew that teaching was an option. But then people used to say to me, go on, sorry.
No, you mentioned that earlier. I could see that making sense based on the family background.
Precisely.
Music would have been on the table for you.
But then it was always something when people go, why didn't you become a teacher when you're older? It was like, no, all my family do that. I'm not going to do that. No, there's no way. No, I'm not. I don't want to talk to kids all the time. That's all my family do. That's not for me. I want to do something else. I want to be different. And here we are.
Here we are. No. So you went to uni, studied history. you're now teaching at a secondary school. How did you find the transition from high school to uni, but more so from uni into the working world? What was that transition like?
Difficult, actually. Actually really difficult, because university is it's a nice place to be in your life. Those kind of 3 years of your life, you're pretty much doing what you want, so you have work to do, you have lectures to attend, reading to do, you have essays to write, like quite long essays to write in history, but it's not a hard life. Not a hard life. And when you've got a student loan, luckily I got quite a large student loan because I was from a low income family. So I got a large student loan and I worked part-time, so I was in financially quite a good place all the way through uni. I don't think I appreciated then how good life was, how easy things were. I was living in a great bit of London, right near a tube station, close to loads of cool things, and then finished university and it was like, cool, that student loan's not there anymore, is it? That's not coming back. Cool. And then and so I had that summer holidays after I finished. I remember I handed in my dissertation like July 2021, so exactly 3 years ago. I was like, oh no. I was like, what do I do now? And I was working for Waitrose all the way through university, the supermarket. So I've worked for them since I was 16, had moved to a couple of different shops. And I was working at a shop in St Catherine's Docks in Wapping in East London, this big branch of Waitrose. And they really liked me there. And I was quite good at the job and they kind of trusted me. And then a couple of the managers there were like, oh, why don't you go on like a management training program? They were like, well, we'll put you on a full-time contract. You can do like you can learn to be a branch manager. And I was like, why not? I was like, I've got no other career options. Because I was doing that classic thing that people in their final year of university do. I'm sure you know what it's like. When you apply for like every graduate scheme that you've heard of, like the civil service, fast stream, like PR companies, random banks, just because everyone else was doing it. I was like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. And but then I was like, all right, fine, I'll just work in retail full time. Like the money's okay. I know what I'm doing. I know the job. Like I can learn. Mate, honestly, I did it. I did it for a month full time. I'd only ever done it like 3 days a week. I did it for a month full time. I was like, no way. I hate this.
I'm happy that you're sharing this now, because even sometime I reconsider myself as a teacher. Like, should I try something else? But sometimes, teaching is difficult, but when you get to do something else, that's when you really appreciate teaching more.
100%.
Sure.
And so that was exactly my thing. So I was like, to go back to your question, I was like, this working world is really hard, because I'm now earning not very much money, working all the time, and I was like, right, and I don't like my job. And I was like, so I've got to find something fulfilling. I think I phoned my mum one day having a full-on crisis about it. I was like, I hate this job, I want to leave. And she was like, why don't you try being a teaching assistant? And I was like, nah, not for me. And she was like, well, you've got no other options at the minute, have you? And I was like, true. So I got in touch with a couple of agencies, because there are all these agencies around that just offer teaching assistant jobs, and this one agency placed me at this school and started working there, and straight away I just enjoyed it so much. Being a teaching assistant is not, it's a difficult job in the sense that you're working quite closely with certain students all the time, and it's very, very relentless. Like in some instances, you basically end up being like their one authority figure, like the one person who's seen as like they can deal with that person. But then so I moved in to a school as a teaching assistant, and I was like, this is great. Just like the amount of, I just find it so rewarding. Like financially, it's not particularly rewarding. Like you don't get paid well for it. It's a fact, and that's a bit of a national scandal, really, the way that teaching assistants are paid and undervalued. But I just straight away, I was like, this is so nice, and everyone in the school, everyone around me, it was just such a nice community I was joining, and such a nice, incredible students, incredible teachers, just incredible people around me generally, and I was like, once you get something rewarding out of a job and you feel some kind of reward from it, it makes everything exactly. It just makes everything feel so much easier, and you just feel suddenly it's like, oh, it's not effort to wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and get on the bus to work, because I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to do a good job of this. I want to do this. And once you get that motivation and that drive to do something like that and to feel like you're doing something good, once you get that feeling, you're winning basically, because then you'll just want to keep going.
Yeah, comparing it to the job that you had before, I'm hearing that loud and clear that teaching is way better. The passion is there, and the one before you hated it. I'm happy that you love teaching, because we need people to actually stay in teaching once they're passionate about it. In terms of your favorite moments so far in being a teacher, if you have that most memorable moment, what is that moment?
That's an interesting one. There's been a few really. I think actually a couple of year 11 did my first year 11 class did sat their GCSEs the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And they were my first year 11 class. I taught them as a trainee teacher when they were in year 10, and I taught them this academic year in year 11. And I've just built up a really, really strong relationship with them. I gave them quite a hard time, quite a lot, but they worked really, really hard, and they really wanted to pass GCSE history. Okay. And 1 or 2 of them came out of that last exam, which was I think middle of last month in June, and they went to me. They were like, "Mr. Downing, you know that thing that we talked about? Because you know when you have a revision session just before an exam, directly before, they were like, you know that thing you talked about the Kent State shooting, something in the course." And they were like, "Yeah, I used that in this answer. Thank you so much." And then I was like, "You know what? That sounds like a great answer." And I just stuck my hand out to these 2 boys and went, "Well done." I was like, "Off you go and enjoy yourselves. You're free now. Well done." That was a really nice moment. But I'll be honest, it's so hard to choose.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know it's like you have so many really nice moments like every single day. Even just random students saying thank you to you, or asking you a really interesting question, or sometimes talking to parents and realising the impact you have on parents. Or even if you've not had a good relationship with a pupil, or something's gone wrong there and then you manage to fix it.
Yeah.
That can also be really fantastic as well. So yeah, when you get a card from a class, a birthday card, that's a nice one. Got that for the first time this year. So it is, there are so many moments.
Yeah.
So many.
I think I understand exactly what you're saying, because last week I took one of my classes on a field trip, but within the community, and the feeling that I got from that, I was like, man, we need to do this more often, because there were so many people from the public. They were just like, "Sir, continue doing what you're doing. Sir, I really respect you more for doing this." Because the thing is, you leave work, you take your tie off, you remove your ID card, you go on the bus. No one knows the job that you do.
No.
But the moment they see you with the kids, it's like a different level of respect that they actually show for you. So I can say that yes, as well, it's difficult to choose, and you're gonna have different moments that you can pick and choose from as well. Now, so we're moving on from teaching for a bit. In terms of travels, have you ever been anywhere outside of England?
Yeah, I'm not a well-travelled man, to be honest with you. So I didn't really go on holiday when I was younger much. We just used to go on holiday in the UK. But the furthest I've ever been, is Germany.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound that exciting, but that was in year 7 with school on a music tour. Which sounds like big time, yeah. It sounds like we went on a European tour and played at like some arena in Berlin. We didn't. We played in like a few town squares in this part of Germany called the Moselle Valley. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of Central Europe. We stayed in a town called Trarbach, which was in this amazing big river valley with these sort of forests on either side. So that was cool. I've been to France a couple of times. I went to Belgium on another music tour. That was in year 8. That wasn't as good as the year 7 one actually. Just not as in the places we went to just weren't as interesting.
Okay.
Then aside from that, yeah, I travel to Ireland quite a lot as well. I go over there. Now I've realised that aeroplanes are fine because
Yeah.
I didn't go on holiday when I was younger. I went from the age of 3 to the age of 22. From the age of 3 to the age of 22 without going on a plane. I hadn't set foot in an airport or anything. So I was like, so I wanted to go to Dublin when I was 19 with my dad.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're going to have to get the ferry because neither of us had been on a plane for so long. We wouldn't have known what we were doing.
Yeah.
So we had to you get a train all the way from Euston in central London to North Wales, a tiny little place called Holyhead. That takes about 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours, no, 4 hours even. And then you get on a ferry across the Irish Sea from Holyhead to Dublin, which is lovely, but that takes about another 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you end up travelling for like 8, 9, 10 hours just to do a journey that you can go on Ryanair from Stansted to Dublin Airport in less than an hour. And then so when I went with my friends to Ireland in 2022,
Yeah.
I was like, cool, can you take me on a plane please so I know what to do? I was in Stansted, like mind blown. I was like, what are all these things? Why is everyone taking their belts off? Why are people emptying their pockets? I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, cool. This is how this works because I did need to be educated.
Yeah.
But once I got over that, and I was like, cool, airplanes are actually fine. Ryanair is not very comfortable, but airplanes are fine. So I was like, sweet, I'll start doing this on my own then, or like with friends. And so that was Easter holidays 2022. Then October 2022, I was like, cool, I'm flying over to Ireland again. So I flew over to Dublin, got a coach across to Galway on the west coast of Ireland, on like the Atlantic coast, which is probably the most beautiful place I've been to in my life. You just got these like mountain ranges in the background. You've got these amazing harbours in Galway, these amazing sort of cobbled streets, lovely pubs, lovely pints of Guinness, obviously.
Yeah.
And just really, really lovely, really friendly people, and just amazing scenery, the kind of scenery you don't get, especially in the southeast of the UK. Just a really, really cool place to go. So I want to go sort of further afield. I need to explore kind of Eastern Europe, like Romania, the Czech Republic, places like that. So I need to get over to that side of Europe more. That's kind of that's an ambition rather than a short-term plan. But we'll see.
Okay. If you were to select one place that you haven't been to, so you mentioned a couple. What is that one place that's on the top of your bucket list to travel to, and why?
New York.
New York? Okay.
I'm just fascinated by the place. Like I'm fascinated by America. I'm fascinated by Americans, just because in our culture it's so all consuming, isn't it? Everything like American TV, American music, American cars, like everything about it's so all consuming, and New York just seems to be like the kind of centre of American life, where so much in that corner of the USA seems to happen. And I don't know, I've heard so much about it from different people that have been, not all of it positive. But just when you see a place like that on TV, like obviously London's a cool place to live, and we love living here, but you see something like that on TV, with all the skyscrapers in Manhattan, like all the kind of bars in Brooklyn and places like that, and you look at something like that, you're like, that looks incredible, and like it's not that unachievable actually. If I was sensible and saved up a bit of money for a few months, I could make it over there. And I've also got a friend who lives in Washington DC, so it's not completely unfeasible that I could go there and could go to DC and go to New York, but haven't made it there yet. But that's definitely the bucket list place to get to.
Okay, maybe the next time when you're back on, you can tell me how that trip
was. But summer 2025 soon come.
So I'm listening to your description, and what you were describing about New York is exactly what we do in geography as well, because New York is what we call the world city. It has economic influence, and it also has cultural influence, and it's the cultural influence that is really kind of driving you towards going there. Because I'm from the Caribbean, so our dream is not to go to New York, it would be somewhere in Europe, but because you're living in Europe, it makes perfect sense for your dream to be not necessarily somewhere in Europe, but over to North America, because you already experience life here. You get the general idea as to what the culture is like. Alright, so as I said, whenever you do that one, I'll bring you back on and you can share your experience on that. we're going to dive into the music aspect now. You touched on it somewhat, but at what age did you decide that you're serious about music and that's what you really want to pursue?
Do you know what? I think to actually say, cool, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it. Probably 20
Okay.
during COVID, because it was that. Do you remember the kind of later lockdown? So there was that summer where you could sort of do a bit, you could go out and see your friends a bit, and then we locked down again that winter. That winter, I don't know what came over me. I was getting towards the end of university. Don't know what came over me. I went back to songwriting properly then for the first time since I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I was just coming up with songs that I just knew were a step up.
Yeah.
And because I'd always just done it for a bit of fun, as a bit of like an outlet, writing songs. And I was like, hold on a minute. I was like playing these in my room, my tiny little room I had in this flat in East London, and I was like, there's something here.
Yeah.
Like I wrote the song Turning Round, I wrote Don't Go Away, you know, the one you heard me play last at the Victoria, with that big chorus. And as soon as I came up with that, I was like these songs are proper. I was like, these aren't just little things I might play to my friends.
Yeah.
Like these are proper songs that I need to record and I need to make something out of it. So I think once I realised, I was like, I'm actually quite good at this. And then like there's some potential here.
So
I was like, great, let's make this happen. But the problem is, you sat there in the middle of a lockdown, in the middle of COVID-19. Cool. Well, I can't get a band together because we're not allowed to be in the same room as other people, so we can't rehearse. I can't go and play live gigs in a little cramped room in the back of a pub because pubs and live music venues are shut and you can't see anybody anyway. So I was like, cool. The only thing I can do is find some way to record these things on my own and release them, because I knew that because of Spotify and YouTube and everything, like it's democratized the music industry massively. So it means that without major record labels like publishers and like A&Rs and anything like that, it's really easy to get your stuff out there and get your music heard, which is a blessing and a curse, because what it meant for me was, I was like, brilliant, let's go and cheaply record this song Nevertheless I had.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, let's go and really cheaply record this with this guy in his studio in West Ham. Did that, and then I was like, sweet, let me chuck it on Spotify now. Of course, that was just a really rough demo that was recorded in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did it, and so it was such a naive thing for me to do. To think, oh yeah, cool, that's something I can release. Whereas obviously, and then the second I released it, I started chatting to people, and they were telling me about mixing engineers, mastering, and PR, public relations campaigns, and submitting to labels. And I was like, and music videos, and I was like, hey, didn't think of any of that. Cool. So so it was great in the sense that it made me realise, cool, this is definitely what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then immediately, once you're like, cool, I'm going to go into this seriously as a solo artist, because there were a lot of cool solo artists around at that time who are still going now, who made me think I wanted to do this as a Cian Downing thing, not as like a band thing, which I've done in the past.
Yeah.
So it was great in the sense that made me think, right, cool, I'm now a solo artist, I'm now in the industry, this is how I perceive myself. But then immediately I learned a lot of quite harsh lessons quite quickly, and that what I've done there wasn't up to standard, and there's a lot more I need to do to be at the standard that's going to be required for me to get anywhere in this business, to get noticed, to get on the bills that I want to be on. So it was great in the sense that was my starting point, but it was a big learning curve at the same time.
Yeah. Alright, so that sounds really good as well. I like the fact that you made some mistakes, but you have learned from those and you're building on that, because that's how it goes. So COVID, we know it was a sad time, it was a rough time, but at the same time it gave you the opportunity to kind of self-actualize what you wanted to do and then actually to do it. And I'm happy that you recorded the cheap ones, even though you look back now you might cringe at them.
Yeah.
But that was like a stepping stone to take it to this level.
100%.
So you sing, you play the guitar. Well, as for me, that's something very difficult to do. To sing alone is difficult. to play the guitar is difficult, but to do them together is even more difficult. Now, what inspired you to play the guitar?
One person really, a guy called Paul Weller, who's an English singer-songwriter. He's got popular in the 1970s with a band called The Jam, and playing sort of like, it was in the time when punk rock became really popular in the late 1970s, and he kind of emerged out of the punk rock scene and wrote these incredible, they were pop songs really, but had a bit of a punk edge to them. And I was basically brought up listening to the music of The Jam, Paul Weller's first band. His second band called the Style Council, who are a bit more kind of soulful, a bit more poppy, and he then became a solo artist, and he's still, Weller's still writing songs and still performing today, even though he is probably in his late 60s now, I'd say. But so he's just an incredible inspiration. He's an incredible songwriter, and he, especially in his youth, in his 20s, he wrote these incredible kind of social commentary songs where he kind of observed what was going on in Britain at the time. So it was the Britain of Margaret Thatcher, it was the Britain of coal mines closing down, the country was deindustrialising, and it was the way he paints a picture of that time was being an incredibly depressing place to live, quite frankly, and he just paints this really, really vivid picture in your mind of what it was like to live in Margaret Thatcher's Britain under Conservative government. And to me, growing up, I used to watch, there's this DVD my dad brought when I was about 7 of all of the Jam's music videos and some live footage of them, and I used to absolutely rinse that DVD. I watched every video, every live performance on there about 15, 20, 30 times, and I just used to be like studying every move Paul Weller would make. I'd be like, so why is he that close to the mic at that point in the song? Why is he decided to hold his guitar at that angle there, but then at this angle later on? Why is he pointing at the audience like that? Why is he talking to them in this way? So I became it got a bit obsessive almost. I was studying like his every move, and then so that was the moment where I became really interested in like not only just how you play guitar, but it was like the dynamics of performing as well. And like, because if you watch these early videos of Paul Weller and the Jam playing to like maybe 500 to 1,000 people, like relatively small venues, like the energy in the rooms used to be incredible, and you'd have all these kids, you know, like jumping around, going mental, and then so I used to look at these videos and be like, oh, how do they create that energy? How do they get things to that level? And so that was he's always my big inspiration really, and I still get compared to him a lot. I still get told, oh, you really sound like Paul Weller. Your songs are really like Paul Weller. And I think it's something it's like a badge I'm going to be wearing for the rest of my musical career really, just because I love his songs. I love the way he writes, and it very much inspires what I do now. So he's basically been the kind of constant all the way through my music career.
Okay. Alright, sounds good. Walk me through the process of writing. Let's say
$1 million question, that.
You're writing, well, every song that you write it as if it's a hit song. You want it to be a hit song. How long does it take you to record a song?
Writing or recording?
Well, write it and then record it.
Interesting one. Can be anything. I've done it in 20 minutes before.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes me weeks.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just completely depends. And some people can just go and reel songs out like effortlessly. Me, generally, I can't do that. Maybe because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I'll be quite self-critical. I'll be like, oh, that lyric shouldn't be in that verse because it sounds a bit naff, or it doesn't fit with what I'm trying to say. Or I'll be like, oh, I don't like that melody because it jumps up really high, or something like that. But for me, it can take quite a long time.
Okay.
But what I always do is I'll usually pick up my acoustic guitar, and I'll just play a few songs I like, and I'll just be sat there, usually like Sunday afternoon, having a jam or having a nice time. And then and between songs I do a lot of sort of noodling about, doing like do, just playing random stuff. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, that was good. Oh, let me do that again.
Yeah.
So like, for example, with Untouchable, my latest single, it was like I was just going, just doing whatever, and then I just went, and I was like, simple but good. And I was like, damn, let me do it again. And then I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, great, that's a riff, that's a lick now, fine. Let's write a song around that.
Yeah.
And so it's just, as soon as once you get a little something, for me it's always something instrumental. I never start off with lyrics and go from there. Some people love to write a whole song, like almost as a poem, and then put it to music. I'll think of something musical first. If that's a chord sequence, a riff, a hook like that, and then put words to it. That's the really funny part for me.
That's unique.
Yeah.
Because I know that most artists, if they're gonna freestyle, they freestyle with the lyrics first, the words, and then they will get like the producer, the beat maker to make the beat to match it. But yours is the other way around, where you get the melody and everything going first through the guitar, and then you just put the lyric to match.
And then I put lyrics on top of it, that's the really funny part. That's the part I wouldn't want people to see, because then I'm like, oh cool, I can imagine some singing going on top of this, like, and I'm like, but I haven't got any words, so I kind of start scat. You know scat singing, like jazz singing, like. So I have to start doing that basically until I think of some words, because I'm like, I don't know what this song was going to be about. I don't know what the message is, what the theme is. So I just start going, and then eventually I was like, oh, these words kind of sound nice there. And what usually happens is it just clicks, and I think of a first line. So in just to keep using Untouchable as an example, it was feeling like no one can stop me, and I was like, great. And then for some reason, once I get a first line, like a first coherent line of a song, the rest of the lyrics just come. It just keep going, and then I'm like, right. And it's almost like I decide what it's going to be about based on that first line, and then it's like, okay, I can see where this is going now. Let's keep following it and see where it ends up. So it's like once I've got the melody, I've got a kind of chord sequence, I've got a first line of lyrics. The rest of it just kind of comes from there.
Yeah, I like this discussion about, because basically you'll see the question as I asked. We'll come to that in a second, but learning about how you actually created Untouchable, because it's my second favorite song.
Cheers.
My favorite song is actually Don't Go Away.
Nice. True.
And I'm going to add that to the end, guys, so you can stick around to the end of the podcast and you'll get to hear that. And Untouchable as well, because there are two classics for me. And when I heard you perform that night, I was like, man, I can see you filling stadiums. I remember I told you at the end, like, you can definitely go places based on this, because there's one thing to hear it on YouTube or Spotify, but when you actually go and watch the live performance, it's a different vibe. Because before then, I didn't know any of the lyrics to the songs, but after coming home, I was sharing with my wife, and I was just happy. I'm like, man, I've never been to a live performance like this before, but I think I'm gonna start following him around the country, because there is actually a buzz to it. So Don't Go Away is my favorite song. Do you have a favorite?
Changes all the time. Probably one of the ones that's not actually out yet. That kind of tends to be the way, because you're really excited about the ones that are coming up, and you're like, oh, this one's even better. But out of the ones that have come out so far, my favourites actually Feel So Fine. So it was the single before Untouchable. I think just melodically, I was so happy with that song, and the way the master came out, like sonically, it just sounds so. It's just like such a big kind of, almost like kind of stadium rock sound to it, and it's got a really nice sort of optimistic kind of chorus to it, and that was probably one as well where I actually had a concept first, and then wrote a song around it. So I don't know if you want to hear the story of it, but
of course.
so that song was really funny, because I went last summer holidays, last August when we were off school. I went to Ramsgate in Kent for a couple of days, seaside town in Kent, with some of my friends from uni, and then the song came out for like, the weather was terrible on the second day after we got there. The weather was terrible. It was really cloudy. It was quite cold, and then the song came out like midday, and we were like, oh great, let's go to the beach, let's go chill out. you know, they started sunbathing, and it was lovely, and it was really warm suddenly, and then all my friends were joking to me, they were like, oh, Cian, you should write a song about this.
Yeah.
God, like, you should write a song about this. And I was like, yeah, you're alright then. And I got the train back to St Pancras that evening, and I sat down straight away, and I was like, I'm going to do this now. And just straight, and that one, I was, because I had such a vivid picture in my mind of this afternoon, sat on Ramsgate Beach, like with like the sun kind of out, kind of not out, but everyone was just so happy and so like buzzing about it. I had this concept and just went with it, and that's where I got that's where I'm feeling so fine from. I was just like, because it was such a lovely moment of like escapism where everything just fell into place.
Yeah. And
so for that reason, creatively that was so satisfying, because I went with I had a concept, someone gave me a concept, and I just followed it through. So creatively that was really nice. So that's my favourite.
I like the fact that one is actually based on your experience as well. Because you said you were at the beach and your friends were like, man, you should write something about this.
Yeah.
And you went and you do it. Because I know it's okay, but you know, for some artists, they might just write based on others' experiences.
Yeah.
But you wrote this one based on your experience. So that also makes it unique as well. In terms of performance, where's your favorite place to perform and why?
So our places I have performed.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a few, you know. I'd say my favourite venue I've played at is a place called Lafayette in King's Cross in central London. So I played there when I was a trainee teacher last March.
Yeah.
We got fairly short notice. I got an email asking me if I wanted to support this band called The Case, who are from Warrington up north, and they've got a big following. Like, they've become quite popular. So to get a support slot with them was like, oh wow, amazing. And like the venue Lafayette is it's a brand new venue. It only opened in 2021.
Yeah.
It's a brand new venue. Like, facilities are incredible, and it holds 600 people. It's got this lovely like standing area right below the stage, and the crowd goes right up to the stage, which is something a lot of big venues now you don't get. There's a big barrier between where the crowd ends and where the stage is. Yeah. So the crowd goes right up to the stage, and the stage isn't that far risen. And then there's a balcony up the top as well, so people are standing right below you and above you as well. It's just an incredible vibe in that room, and the stage is designed beautifully. It's designed based on the Shepherd's Bush Empire stage, or these beautiful old sort of Edwardian buildings, and they've created like a modern version of that basically. Okay. And when you're performing there, obviously we're used to playing in like you saw, in fairly small kind of pub, bar kind of venues. Yeah. You turn up there, and they're like, oh no, you need to go to the artist entrance. I was like, cool, there's a stage door, this is a good start. And bearing in mind, this was on a school night, this was on a Tuesday as well. So I'd rocked up in my work clothes. Someone else had driven all our gear there for us. And so I rocked up, I was like, cool, there's a stage door already. And you go through this stage door, and there's just all these corridors. And these corridors are like snaking behind the back of the stage. And I've got this like stage manager taking me down. He's like, yeah, follow me. Takes me to a dressing room. And I'm like, oh, yes. Get in the dressing room. It's not big, it was like a box for 4 of us, for the whole band. But still, I had a dressing room with my name on it. Yeah. Go in there, it's so official. Go in there, there's a fridge, there's a mini fridge full of beers and water. I was like, cool, we've got stuff been provided for us. Like, this never happens. And then, like, we went on stage for a sound check, and it just sounded sensational. Like, because you're so used to hearing, I'm so used to hearing my sound okay, but not amazing. Like, we all use these things called in-ear monitors. I mean, you can hear yourself quite clearly and hear what the band sounds like. Yeah. We're used to hearing them sort of sound okay through those. Mate, we went on stage there, and it just sounded massive. Yeah. Like, Kieran's keys playing everything just sounded big suddenly. Like, coming through this amazing sound system, and you had 2 sound engineers as well who were just on it. Like, every time I was like, can I have a bit more of this? Can I have a bit less of the keys, a bit more guitar? They were like, yep, sure. And it just sounded incredible. And then we went on stage for that one. Obviously, like, proper walk on stage from the backstage, which isn't common for us. Yeah. Walked on stage there, and we were the first support band. We were playing like 2 hours before the main act. Okay. I was saying to the boys, like, that's gonna be dead. There's gonna be no one here. We've been playing to like 20 people. Walked out on stage, of course no one knew us then, come to see us. Walked down stage, it was packed already. And it was like, oh, cool, this is happening, this is happening. I think some people in that situation would kind of be like, oh,
Yeah.
I was just like, let's have it, come on. So I remember walking out on stage there, looking at the upstairs kind of terrace bit and downstairs. I was like, it's pretty mobbed this. I was like, that's a big crowd. And I remember we started, I'll always keep the first song we used to open with in those days. And it just sounded great straight away. I was like, this is going to be a good gig. And we only played for half an hour because obviously everyone there is appreciative, but everyone's there to see the main act, the cage really. So we played for half an hour and then we were like, oh, amazing gig. We came off, we had this amazing adrenaline, and I walked into the crowd once we finished the set and like packed up. People coming up to me straight away, like, oh my god, mate, you smashed it. Oh my god, can I have a photo? Oh my god, can I have your autograph? Can I have a set list? Can I have people coming up asking for photos, people asking me to sign stuff. It was insane. I was like, cool. So amazing venue, amazing crowd, and we got loads of new fans out of it. And for like 2 days after, my phone was just buzzing non-stop with people messaging me and stuff. So yeah, amazing venue, amazing crowd. So for that reason, that's the coolest place I've played at so far.
That's something really good. It's like what I envision, but on a larger scale. As I said, I see you in the stadiums, but you're gradually getting there. Now, in terms of, in Jamaica, we call it a wow moment, a massive moment. What's like a wow moment for you where if it wasn't for music, you wouldn't have gotten that moment or experienced that moment?
Yeah, there's a few of them really. The one that springs to mind is when we recorded a debut album, which is really exciting, and we haven't released it yet.
Okay.
But it's in the process of being released gradually, essentially. So we recorded that in January this year at a studio in my hometown in Stevenage, and we were in this studio for 5 whole days. This is in the Christmas holidays, like just before we went back to school. We were in there for 5 days, and that's draining.
Yeah.
Being essentially in one windowless square room for 5 days, just slogging through, because this album's got 12 songs on it.
Yeah.
And so we had an engineer there, but you're just slogging through song after song. It was like cool. It was like I had a day set aside where I recorded guitars for every single song. Like it was just long. And recording vocals for like a day and a half. It was just effort. The whole thing was just effort. And then suddenly dawned on me on the Sunday, I was like, this is going to be the most unbelievable feeling when this is done. And it was. There's a photo somewhere. I remember there was one. We got to the end of the very last song. Yeah. Recorded the last part of the last song. And we got to it. I remember getting to there, and I was like, "Oh, can we add in one extra guitar part?" And I played this last guitar part. Like, didn't make any mistakes. And I was like, we're done, yes. And I remember it was like a proper moment. And I'd sent my bass player Gabe out to the shop, to the Tesco over the road. I was like, go and get some champagne or Prosecco or something. It's like we can have a little celebration at the end. Because I suddenly realised that it's going to be sick. And it was just like, yes, we're done. I remember I just laid down on the studio floor and I was like, we're done. So that was a real moment. I was like, if I didn't do this, if I hadn't started writing songs and put this band together and had this whole album concept, then like I'd never have had this moment.
Yeah, and I can understand because you say you work for 5 days.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever worked that consistently is like when I was at university, and you have coursework, you have to just be on it night after night after night. But the resilience, it is paying off, and then when the album is out as well, let's hope that you can reap some fruits from that labor that you put in there. Now, so we're coming down to the end. What's next for you? What's next for Cian Downing?
Oh, a lot of things really, mate. So in the immediate term, a lot of live shows, which is really nice. So the next 6 months, I've got the most gigs I've ever had, essentially. So because it's the summertime, obviously festival season. So I'm just going to shout a few out, some of the really cool ones. A few festivals in Hertfordshire, Todd in the Hole Festival, which is next Saturday, the 13th of July. Playing Old Town Live in Stevenage, my hometown, and in Ware, sort of like nice community festivals. Going up to Scotland for the first time in August, to a place called Dunoon to play I can't even pronounce it in a Scottish accent, but it's called Down the Water Festival. that's some really cool bands actually. Some bands I've really wanted to play with for a while. So Scotland for the first time. In 2 weeks, I'm going up to a place near the Lake District called Alston.
Okay.
So kind of all over the place really, and got some support slots with a tribute band to the Jam, the band I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
So they've got a really big following. They're having me on as a support band in Wolverhampton, in Twickenham, southwest London, in Grimsby, and one or two other places as well. And so I'm barely playing in London actually.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because that's where I've always gigged.
Yeah.
But it's quite nice to have a bit of a break from that, because when we put on our own headline shows, I promote it all myself. Like, I think I chatted to you about this before. I promote it all myself, like hire the venue, I do everything myself. We don't work through promoters or middlemen. So it's really nice managed to find myself a lot of opportunities in places outside of London to get to a brand new market, to get to basically to reach all these people. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully, people turn up to it. To reach this brand new market that I haven't played to before. So playing to people up in Scotland, like something I haven't done before. Playing in Wolverhampton and Birmingham, places I haven't been to before.
Yeah.
Without having the expense of having to put on my own show there. Because that's the problem. I love putting on my own gigs and I love promoting events myself, but it costs a bit because you have to hire a venue, you have to travel up there. So I've managed to find a way to get loads of stuff, get loads of quite cool opportunities that aren't going to cost a fortune. Yeah. And then the only London gig I'm actually playing is at the Marquis in Covent Garden, this really cool kind of mod, kind of indie pub, which is I'm just playing acoustically, but that pub is always packed out. Always packed out full of people that love the kind of music I love. That's one of my only London shows in the next 6 months really. It's Friday 23rd of August. And then the night after that I'm going to Brighton to play at Brighton Mod Weekender. So it's all happening, It's all happening. It's exciting
guys. It is a lot. Right? So if you are in and about the areas, you can just definitely go and support him. And well, I'm not going to make any promises. If the timing is right, I will come to the one in London. Because as I said, the first one was so incredible. And I really would like to take my wife to actually experience that, to give her that experience as well. Now, in terms of those who are interested in your music, where can they find you?
All over the usual places really. So at Cian Downing Music on Instagram, at Cian Downing Music on Facebook as well. The way my fan base is, they seem to be very active on Facebook because I seem to attract a bit of a sort of middle-aged crowd. So Facebook actually seems to be really active for me, which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
My website is www.ciandowningmusic.co.uk. And then and then Spotify, Apple Music, all the usual streaming platforms. Don't want to say too much in terms of music releases, but so I've got two CDs out which are available on my website of the first two EPs. So English Summers and the North Side, they're both available on my website. Yeah. On top of that, which is really exciting, can't say too much, but I've finally got a way to get my music on vinyl, on records. So that'll be coming out on the website fairly shortly. I can't say too much about that for now, but that's something additional to look forward to. So on YouTube as well, obviously, where you can find this man's fantastic channel. YouTube, all the music videos are up there. All the usual places really. So at Cian Downing Music is what to look for.
Alright, so I'll put all the links guys in the description, and I'll put some on the screen as well so you can actually go and follow him. Now, even though he's a teacher and he's a musician, for all my guests we do play a game at the end.
Here we go.
And now we're entering the geography corner officially. So I'm gonna ask you 5 questions. And if you get 3 or more, you'll get to spin the wheel in that corner and win a prize. If you win a water or £1, that would be good for me, because it means then that I'll keep the main prize in my pocket. But if you do win it, I'm happy to give you as well, because you have been a very good guest on the show. Are you ready?
Go on.
Alright, the first question. What is the capital city of Northern Ireland?
Belfast.
Easy, Belfast. So that's 1. Count with me guys. So that's 1 so far. The capital city of Northern Ireland is actually Belfast. Now, which river separates North London from South London?
River Thames.
River Thames. Too easy. So that's 2 out of 2 so far. So if you get 1 more, you'll get an opportunity to spin the wheel to win a prize. Hopefully this one is a little bit harder.
Pressure's on now.
Name the 4 colors of the Brazilian flag.
4 colours.
Mm.
Yellow, green,
Yep.
white, with stars.
There's a one more.
I'm torn between 2. I'm gonna say purple.
You're very close. It's actually blue.
Oh, I was gonna say blue, but I was like, nah, is it purple? Is it blue? Oh,
So we have green, yellow.
there's
blue,
there's a
and
couple
white.
of students who'll kill me for not knowing that.
But that's
Sorry,
fine.
guys.
You have 2 out of 3 so far.
Right, it's salvageable.
This one might be a bit challenging, but based on what you have been doing so far, maybe not. Havana is the capital city for which country?
Cuba.
Cuba. That's correct. So capital city for Cuba is Havana, so that's 3 out of 3. So even if you don't get the last one correct, you have qualified already. And the final one, this is more of a general knowledge to maybe the international audience that we have, because I'm almost pretty sure that you know. So a couple days ago, there was a general election for England. What's the name of the new Prime Minister?
So Keir Starmer.
Well done. So that's 4 out of 5 so far.
Get in.
Congrats on that. So
Thank
I'm
you.
going to get the wheel to the middle here, and you're going to spin. Hopefully you win a decent prize, and then we will just wrap up. Alright? Alright, Cian, so you answered the questions well. 4 out of 5. I could have given you 5 out of 5, but I know that I have some Brazilians at work as well, and they wouldn't be pleased if I give you purple.
No,
if it's
no.
blue. So you're going to spin as hard as you can.
Alright,
Go for
let's
it.
go.
So you have won yourself a bottle of water.
It's rigged. It's rigged. You knew it was gonna land on that.
Go again, just for the public.
Disgraceful.
Go again.
Ah, watch it.
That would have been the mystery box. Alright, Cian. I know it's not the prize that you actually wanted, but you actually won a bottle of water, and I'll actually give you that in a second. But again, thank you for passing through. It was really educational, inspiring listening to you talk, and I like the flow of this particular podcast because you were answering multiple questions at once. At one point in time, I wanted to just throw away the iPod because it was like there was no point. It was really a conversation and not necessarily an interview. So thank you for passing through, and for the viewers, thank you guys for tuning in. As mentioned earlier, I'll put the details as to where you can find Cian's music, and as you know guys, it's Geography Plus 100, where geography meets adventure. See you in the next one.
Good mate. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
I don't know what to say. I'm a good sense of uncertainty, somehow follows on the way. There's always going to be someone who's trying not to kick you down. But they will say that it's so regulation it out. But there's always something left inside. Is it you who have been waiting for time? Listen to me when I the gold making the sky is a balancing where I'm heading to. And the distance our blocks outside the light straight out of you. There's one place to be someone who's trying not Next song's called Untouchable. Women don't know what can stop me. Convinced that there's no obstacles. It's been tough, but so no, it's not time now. And it's so untouchable. The industry blokes never listen to the thoughts and concerns of my mind. 20% all I'm guessing. I'm wondering if you are wasting my time. So I say to you, boy, you're never seeing me again. I'm gonna build a movement from the concrete top to the sky. Don't come calling me again. Don't come calling me again. I'm feeling so untouchable. Feeling so untouchable. The lights on so sure I'll be famous. Next year I'll be playing Wembley. The songs that I write are my only chance of success. The critics won't know what's in them. They'll be swarming bent down on one knee. Big tractors are too gone and see me on the cover of Time magazine. So I say to you, boy, you'll never see me again. I'm gonna build a movement from the grassroots up to the sky. Don't come calling me again. So I say to you, boy, you'll never see me again. I'm gonna build a movement from the grassroots up to the sky. How's it going, London? You alright? Let's have it. This song's called Feels the Vibe. A bunch of goals inside, but you don't see it. A moment where no problems fade away. Everything's so cold and it's a place. Presented in every possible way. Every possible way. Always searching for some rays. Every possible way. Forever needing a break. You've got to follow negotiation. No better seems far away. Every 5 second way, got a smile.